Hello everyone. Welcome to Design Week Philippines 2023 On the Edge, the country's festival for Filipino design and creativity. My name is Gabbi Campomanes, Programs Manager and Writer for Fringe Creatives, and I will be your host and moderator for this afternoon's talk, Designing with Joy. So returning for its 12th year, Design Week Philippines invites us to explore the world through its theme, On the Edge, to push against today's undercurrent of crisis, against all odds towards hope. Advocating for design that heals, innovates, and ultimately transforms, Design Week Philippines invites the Filipino design community to recognize design's dual potential for danger and transformation, and celebrate its power and responsibility to be used for good. But before we begin, the Design Center and Design Week Philippines would like to thank the Department of Trade and Industry, our creative venue partner, our festival curator, our government partners, our official media partners, our partner events, our food and beverage partners, our design mentors, and our program partners. The Design Center and Design Week Philippines would also like to thank our creative venue partner, the Philippine Trade Training Center. Look at this beautiful venue we have here today, as well as to everyone watching at home on Zoom and on Facebook. Don't forget to tag us in your posts and stories with the hashtag DesignWeekPH2023, hashtag On The Edge. As we celebrate the transformational power of design with our theme, On The Edge, we acknowledge its dualities and dangers, as we did earlier this morning in our talks, Double-Edged Design and Design and AI. But this afternoon, we explore another facet of being a design professional: satisfaction, happiness, joy. And in Designing with Joy, we've invited today's most visible design and creative entrepreneurs to share their personal and professional strategies to thrive in their industry and continue to love what they do. So let's get to meeting our wonderful panel. Our first speaker is a multi-award-winning production designer. You may have seen her designs in films such as Where is the Lie?, Here Comes the Bride, Kimidora, as well as in advertisements for Max Fried Chicken, Globe, Lucky Me, and many, many more. Sharing with us the joy that comes with managing costumes, sets, props is our first speaker, Adelina Leung. Okay. Our next speaker is a graduate of the University of Santo Tomas with a degree in fine arts. His artistic practice is heavily influenced by street art and culture meshed with Filipino religious heritage. His roots can be traced back to his days of graffiti and sticker slapping. He also draws inspiration from icons of tattoo culture, Americana, gangs, and prison emblems. He keeps a journal of drawings reminiscent of old school tattoo flashes. Please welcome the brilliant visual artist Auggie Fontanilla. Woo! Our next speaker is a potter and entrepreneur who moved from the bustling city life of Manila back to her roots in the bucolic area of San Narciso, Zambales in central Luzon. A solo potter when she moved to San Narciso in 2013, she has since been able to train the locals to create their own pottery. She continues to train her team of potters as she dreams about the legacy she wants to leave behind someday in her grandfather's hometown. Please welcome to the founder of Clay Avenue Pottery Workshop, Mia Casal. Our last speaker is an interdisciplinary designer whose practice is guided by empathy and human-centeredness. These principles guide her not just in product design, but also through her work as an illustrator and a graphic designer, always putting the end user's experience and context in mind. She is currently leading the design operations team at Globe, advocating for the end user and collaborating with designers and developers to craft products made for people. Please welcome Sam Ganzon. Woo! Okay, we have our whole panel here today. Hi everyone, how are we doing?
Good, great.
All your mics are working? Great, good.
Yes.
Love it. Hello, everybody. So to start us off, let's just go do our round table panel. Let's just go around the panel with our first question. Can you kindly tell me and the audience what you do and how design is involved in your work? Let's start with you, Ad.
Okay, I'm a production designer for film and advertising, but mostly advertising. I have yet to do a film na I would really be, like, gustong gusto ko. Pero I'm hoping to do it, like, this time. And then when you asked me nga about this Design with Joy, I was quite surprised kasi I've never realized na, really, have I been designing with joy? So let me rethink that. But anyway, production design for advertising. At the time that I took this job, parang hindi pa siya ganun ka-common nun. Like, I did it by, parang I was given this opportunity by accident. I'm gonna tell you a lot about it later. Pero yeah, production design for I'm sure a lot of you know how it works. But my favorite works, I would like to say the Max's Alien commercial and a lot of the McDonald's that you see out there would be something that I'd really work hard on.
What do you mean you got into it by accident? How did you accidentally fall into this?
No, well, okay, 90s. 90s is not really, when you graduate in the 90s, it's not like, wow, I'm gonna do production, I'm gonna be in Hollywood or even Asian. It's even hard to tell your mom na, Mom, I'm gonna do arts. Just by enrolling in fine arts, sobrang, no, really? Walang pera dyan, pero sige, okay, sige, pagbigyan natin, pero backup mo to ha, mag-accounting ka, ganyan-ganyan, or magdo-doktor ka. But anyway, after graduating, I really had a hard time looking for work, sa totoo lang. I don't know, because physicality or at that time, not as open, you don't know if you don't have connection, how do you do it? Remember guys, walang internet noon ha, so landline lang. So kung if you miss that interview letter, sorry no, ayan, carbon dating pa ako. If you miss that interview letter, hindi mo kunwari, the letter arrived yesterday, the interview is 2 days ago. So imagine that, diba? So, grabe yung amazement sa mukha na, yeah, there was a time na ganun siya. Anyway, yeah. So, then after that, I tried photography. And from that, so, okay naman ang photography, except, ang hina talaga ng, at the time, the money in photography is not that good. So then, suddenly, some of my friends say, why don't you try a production design even for small film? Kasi at least, baka maybe that's something that you can do. Then, yeah, from there, I started, unti-unti, it grew bigger and bigger. So, I didn't realize na, sa totoo lang, I never imagined myself to be where I am right now.
Thank you for sharing that with us and entertaining my question. I mean, sometimes with our professional work, we fall into the things we're doing now, and we don't think of doing it when we start out. Sorry, Auggie, would you like to share?
Yeah, ayun, magandang hapon. So, well, I can say siguro I'm a visual artist kasi what I do is I paint, I design sorts of stuff kung ano. Pero parang, again, parang short history kung saan ako nanggaling din. Parang I started sa publishing, pero umabot sa point na ayoko na. Parang pagod na ako. Parang gusto ko na lang mag-art kahit walang backup plan. Parang I quit. Pero to be honest, may natutunan akong malaki being sa publishing as a artist. Pero I learned a lot. Pero I quit. I risked that. Then I did my own stuff. Parang wala lang. As in, kung ano trabaho ginawa ko, design, kung ano racket, hanggang sa ma-establish ko what am I doing right now. So yeah, so I'm still doing visual art, pinta sa pader, pinta sa canvas, design ng mga kung ano ng produkto. So that's what I do every day. Yeah.
Thank you. Mia, how about you?
We make pottery, and design is very important in what we do because we make handmade ceramics for restaurants. So everything has to be precise. It's handmade, but it's also, we like it irregular most of the time. And it's very important that what we make can be used. Okay, some pieces can be used for decorative purposes, but our expertise is in tableware. So it has to be functional, it has to be safe, it has to be food safe. So we think of those things, those are our priorities whenever we create. So just to give a little background from how I started, because they also shared theirs. I used to work for the family business. We print textbooks. And then I feel like in less than a year of being there, I feel like it's not for me. Alam naman natin kung hindi para sa atin, di ba? It's either we quit or tumatango sila, ibig sabihin they've experienced, or maybe you're experiencing it right now. That is normal, okay? Walang masama doon. If it's not for you, you'll know it's not for you. So I tried to search for what I want, and my mom was very supportive. So let's love the family members that we have who are very supportive of us. So I tried making pottery once, and the moment I felt the spinning clay between my hands, I never stopped since then. Up to now, I only stop when I'm tired, when I need a break, when I have to see my family here in Manila. So it's a very fulfilling craft and business too.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I envy your ability to chase the high of, it's so sensory. I touch the clay and I could never stop. You know what I mean? Anyway, Sam, how about you?
Hi, I'm Sam. So right now, I am the design operations lead at Globe. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that role. It's relatively new in the industry. So I'm very privileged to be able to sort of still craft it in the context of Globe. But our objective is removing the obstacles for designers so they can focus more on problem solving and strategy over production. And we're also in charge of course, advocating for design in the company and also educating our designers and non-designers on how to solve problems, like using design thinking, empathy, and whatnot. And I guess I'll share also how I got here. I chose design only because it was not traditional. Like, I was very allergic to the traditional courses before, which was accounting, medicine, being a lawyer. So I chose design, like, I just picked it from Ateneo's catalog or like any university's catalog. And I really didn't have anything planned. I didn't know where I was gonna be in how many years. So I took the risk. And so when I learned more about it, initially I came in because I liked aesthetics. I like making things pretty. But the more you learn about it, the more you understand that design as a practice, it solves people's problems. And it solves people's problems sustainably without it being Band-Aid solutions. So that's what made me fall in love with it, and that's why I'm here. Because in my job, we solve like operational problems, I guess. So there you go.
Thank you for that. And and hearing from all of you guys, it just gives us an idea of, you guys come from a broad range of backgrounds and like design sectors. But people come from different places and end up where they are now, and that journey is really part of what informs what we do, what we're doing. But part of working creatively, I guess, is you can't really work in a bubble. I guess you can't work alone. You have to work with other people. You have to work with clients, which leads me to my next question. Working in a creative field can be a balancing act. So how do you keep a client satisfied without losing your artistry? Ad, let's start with you.
Okay. Honestly, if you're gonna work in advertising, I mean, as probably some would know, it's really about satisfying the client, no matter what. It's not about you. It's not about what you like. It is what the client wants. So I guess, ako kasi as an art, hindi ko nga makatawag yung sarili ko na artist. Sa totoo lang, I'm a problem solver. You have a problem, here's my solution. So I will tell you that. So if I'm enjoying myself with doing that solution, that's a plus point. Why not, di ba? And I always even tell that to my students. Kasi right now I teach a CSB. Please don't look at the works I give you as a problem. Dapat i-enjoy nyo yan. Kung di nyo na-enjoy, you better think, baka hindi ito yung gusto nyo course. Kasi kung ito hindi nyo pa ma-enjoy, wala na kayong ma-enjoy pa, ha? So, think about it. If art doesn't give you pleasure in working the objective, kasi hindi naman pwedeng art lang dahil gusto mong gumising at mag-drawing dyan. I mean, I'm not sure about him, sorry, kasi, pero ako ganun ako. Hindi talaga ako gigising para lang, wow, feel ko ngayon, sa malaking canvas. Hindi ako ganun. Pagising ko, email ilan? 20, Viber mo, chat group mo, lahat yon may tanong sa'yo. maiksi ba tong pantalon na to? Okay ba to? Ito ba kulay blue? Pwede natin palitan ng green kasi smart naman pala yung kliyente. Kalaban ng globe. Mga ganun. Yun ang problema mo as an artist. And you have to give that solution. By the way, kailangan na yan. Nag-grind na yan. Diba? So you solve the problem. You accept the pressure that goes with it. And you accept the idea na 24/7, you're supposed to be available for that. Diba? So those are the pressure. Pero kung hindi mo siya na-enjoy, talagang hindi siya para sa'yo. Kung maya't maya gusto mo na magkape at gusto mo na patayin yung cellphone mo, it's not for you. Pero pag nakita mo na sabay-sabay mo siyang sinosolve, ina-address mo siya, and you just look at it as something to enhance. Like for example, meron din naman design that you can control. Like ako, with working with McDonald's, I love it. Why? I'm not sure if you're familiar with this commercial. Two girls, yung may skating. Okay, the crew there, the crew there, yung crew, di ba, yung girl na bida din. So, supposedly, when she goes out and changes her uniform, nagtatalo kami, should it be nakatali siya or nakalaglag yung hair niya? See, I'm sure kayo, ano ngayon? Pero ako, for me, that's important. Why? Kasi it has to be important to validate that she's pretty. If she's gonna stay within that nakatali na buhok, she's not gonna be as hot as when we reveal her. Pero, sabi na, paano yung recognition? Sabi ko, hello, sila lang dalawa yung character, naka-eyeglass pa siya, binigyan na nga natin ng cue na yun. I would like to think that my audience is more intelligent. Kasi ako, dapat may mga gut feel ka na gano'n na, pag nakita ko sana hot siya, sana she's worth the going around there. So, yun, things like that makes me happy when I have those small wins. Pero I felt na, sige, kita nyo, kinilig naman yung mga tao. Diba? Things like that.
Thank you. And needless to say, it really, sometimes I guess, things like answering your email and
Yes.
answering your messages is a creative act in and of itself.
Yes.
You have to use your mind and your creativity to problem solve issues that come your way.
Oo. At saka when you answer, iba-ibang attitude yun Mabait ka sa kliyente, tsaka sa director mo. Tapos nanggigigil ka na sa assistant mo, tsaka sa diba? Ibang skills din yun. So, lahat yan, skills. Tapos lahat sana ina-enjoy mo. Lahat tinitingnan mo. Instinctively iniisip mo, this is how to settle it. Things like that.
Augie, how about you?
Regarding sa clients. Or
Yeah.
So, sa awa ng Diyos naman, pag sa clientele ko, mababait naman sila. So parang, siguro dahil na-establish ko na rin somehow kung ano ginagawa ko. So lahat ng clients ko naman is natutuwa. Parang lumapit sila sa akin just dahil gusto nila yung trabaho ko. So parang, pero, bago ako marating doon sa ganung posisyon, umabot din sa point na parang kailangan ko i-please yung client. Pero, kailangan may balance eh. Parang hindi pwedeng susundan kita palagi. Siyempre, somehow dahil freelance naman ako, somehow gusto ko rin mag-inject kung ano man yung ginagawa ko. Nung start yun nung wala pang talagang established na clientele. So parang tinatry kong ipasok kung ano man ginagawa ko doon sa mga pinapagawa nila, kung ano may brief na gusto kailangan nila, kung design yan or kung ano man. Pinapasok ko yun hanggang sa eventually, yung clientele ko parang, okay, sige, gawa tayo kasi okay yung ginagawa mo. Pasok naman sa gusto namin, and then, yun na, parang lahat naging organic na lang na nagkatugma-tugma na parang, okay, sige, na hindi ko na kailangang mag-bend na parang, sige, gawin natin yung gusto mo kasi ito yung kailangan nyo. Parang, sige, ito gawin natin, gusto mo yan eh. Ito gawin natin, pasok naman sa briefing natin, then let's do it, para lang masaya. So parang, yun nga, awa ng Diyos, mababait naman yung mga kliyente ko. So wala pa akong naging parang problema na parang kailangan kong baliin or ibahin yung ginagawa ko. So yeah, surprisingly okay naman sila.
Yeah. And that's trying to maintain your agency as a professional. Like that's why they're getting you naman if as a client. Like what do you have to offer? So sometimes you have to protect that, and also, it's a relationship naman between you and the client. Mia, what about you?
Thankfully, our clients have been they've been really nice to us. The only challenge siguro lang would be, yung iba kasi, of course, since we make tableware for restaurants, they show us samples that have been made by, for example, another ceramic producer. And they want us to copy, for example, because this happens, they want us to copy what others have done. So right up front, I tell them that this cannot be done. You cannot compromise the design of other people who are in the same industry. So you be honest. You have to be honest to your clients that you highly respect these people who have gone ahead of you or those who are younger than you, and still produce for them and meet in the middle. Na okay, we can change some designs and color and surface and texture, and then in the end, magkakasundo naman eh. I've never encountered a client wherein hindi kami nagkasundo. Walang ganon, walang bad vibes so far. So, apart from them being nice people, chefs are also like artists. Their art is actually edible, so they're very creative, and they want to their work of art in food to be represented well on the plate. So the plate should match with whatever menu that they have or will serve, and yeah, that has been my observation so far among my clients.
That's good. I'm happy that so far we haven't had any like problematic client stories. I feel like you would have handled them anyway.
Things like that.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, similar to most of you guys.
Vibes lang.
When I was, yeah, good vibes lang. Been very lucky when I was freelancing as a visual artist and an illustrator. I've never really had like a bad client, quote unquote, because they get you for your style, your expertise, what you bring to the table. And I think that's important to remember every time you engage with a client. And with that, it's important to know yourself, and have like strict boundaries so that you know what to say no to, you know where your line is, and you know up until when or where you will compromise. So yeah, it's a balancing act, right? Yeah, putting what your value is and your expertise on the table, and at the same time curating that with your clients' needs and crafting something with them. So yeah, I think you'll get bad clients if you have a hard time saying no.
Very true. I think to be a design professional, you have to have so much self-awareness. You have to know your boundaries, like you said, and what you're good at and why people are getting you for jobs. And, sticking to your principles and your values and knowing that you know what's right for whatever project. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for the panel, for each member of the panel, actually. So we'll start with you, Ad. As someone in advertising, how do you balance I don't know if personal creative biases is necessarily the term, but personal creative biases with the requirements of your clients? For example, have you ever like gone up against someone, been like, no, I have...
Actually, no. Never talaga. In advertising, you don't do that. Parang, that's gonna be the last straw talaga. Kasi remember, you're working with clients' money. Diba? It's not your money. It's their money, and you're just being hired. And up to now, I realize I've never really had an employer, a really fixed employer, until I began to teach at CSB. So then I need parang, kailangan ko pala ng PhilHealth, ng Pag-ibig. Then I realized all my life I've been doing freelancing, but being tapped to work for specific clients, diba? So there's really a difference of you doing everything freelance, but within an industry that has a very specific objective for each project that you do. Because one project is literally very different from the other. So never I would try, if I like the project, yeah, I would try na, and if I know na the client, if you have a relationship na with the client, like for example, even Max's, I've done it 3 to 4 times and it's been successful. You can really like try to explain to clients, maybe we do it this way because it has more impact rather than because they're so mahilig with color palette of their product, right? So sometimes it works, sometimes not. Pero ako talaga, if multinational, bigay mo na. Pag Milo, green yan. Magpaikot-ikot-ikot man tayo, green pa rin yan. So, bigay mo na yun sa kanila. But there would be clients who has really special projects na pag nakita mo, you know na you can have a say on it. But at the end of the day, that's still client that's gonna give you clearance for that. So yun, that's the difference advertising. I'm jealous nga with them Ang ganda pakinggan, 'di ba? Pero with advertising is different I remember this great advertising guy telling us, we're just a prostitute in this industry, which is true. Diba? Kung ano yung gusto, bigay mo. Yun talaga yun eh. Then, tapos how do you manage that? Yun yung magiging ano mo. That's where you're gonna be strong enough and to make your mark.
I love the colorful description.
Hindi sa akin yun somebody told. Tanda ko, like, ano yun like my 4th year in college yun, naalala ko talaga siya because ang ganda nun sinabi niya diba? Tapos and then I realized, fuck, he's right. Diba?
All right. Thank you very much for entertaining us. For Auggie, as a visual artist, having worked with clients with different objectives naman, how do you strategize and offer fresh concepts that would respond to their requirements? What's your process?
Parang balance pa rin yan eh. Parang kailangan kong alamin kung sino yung kliyente, kung ano yung kailangan. Pero, again, parang sinabi ko kanina, kung ano yung gusto nila, susundin ko yun eh. Sundin natin yan. Bigay natin sa kanila. Pero parang, kailangan mo po rin pasukan na parang, ito parang mas maganda to. Yung parang, kasama ko, kailangan mong bula-bulahin yung mga client na parang, persistent na, hindi, gusto ko ganito. So parang isip ko, ba't pa ako kinuha kung gusto nyo naman gawin to? So parang, binibigyan ko lang sila na parang nagchachacha lang kami. Parang back and forth na, okay, ito tayo. Pero, why not? Try natin to. O, di ba, mas okay din to. So parang gano'n, hanggang sa makonvince mo sila na parang they hire you nga eh, to do this for them. So parang, sana magtiwala sila. So parang kahit na, somehow, syempre may bias sila na gusto nila na, ito lang tayo. Pero, try natin itong ganito. So, give them always options palagi sa mga, sa mga studies or design brief na binibigyan nila, biglang palagi. So parang eventually naman, magiging swak pa rin naman eh. Matatapos pa rin naman yung project and eventually, hindi ka na pag-burn ng bridges. You build more connect hanggang sa manganganak ng mga anak yan. And that's it. So parang good vibes lang din palagi.
Kind of like, you know, when you're trying to feed vegetables to your baby and then you're just trying to put like a carrot and not saying it's exactly like that because of course, you know, you're trying to make it more open for them to choose between. Like giving options is a very good strategy or technique in trying to not just create more things or options, but to create an environment of give agency to the client also. Mia, for you, with the change of scenery playing a huge part of your practice because you moved from Manila to Zambales, can you tell us about connecting with that community in Zambales and how is it different from the clientele in Manila?
The community in Zambales is very different. I live in a neighborhood where the indigent community is really there. I'm right beside them. In the beginning, it was such a challenge. It was coming from the city, a very comfortable, this is our comfort zone. Manila is our comfort zone. And moving to the province, it took me years to not blend, but to accept what is around me. The mentalities that are different, you know, the practices that are different, behavior of the people that are different from my own behavior. And here I am coming in from the city, wanting to help my community. And then I realized that not everyone wants to be helped. So I had to adjust that. So I was telling Janine of the Design Center that there was a time when I wanted to train the locals how to knead clay. It's the most basic thing na pwede mong gawin para maka-create ka, makalikha ka ng isang plato or mangkok or bowl or anything that you want to make. And then, so may nag-training na, no? Nag-training kami for a few weeks. So you can spot potential easily in kneading clay, and that's very important in the whole process of producing ceramics. And then the next day, sabi, nag-promise na babalik siya, and then the next day, he didn't come. So I was telling my staff, hey, tara, hanapin natin si ganito. So we went around the neighborhood, we went to the beach, because the beach is just behind where I am. So nakita namin siya doon nangingisda. So sabi ko, bakit ganon? So, yun pala, ang nakasanayan ng tao nga naman ay mangisda para makakain sa araw na yon. And here I am, wanting to help that person. But since nakaugalian nila na gano'n ang pamumuhay nila, it takes time for them to realize na, oh, I can have a job. You know, na this can be a job. Kneading clay is a job that you don't have to fish in the sea because after the training, I pay for training. So Kasi parang trabaho na rin yun eh. Tinuturuan mo sila at the same time natututo sila maya-maya sila na yung nagmamasa ng clay. So there are adjustments like that from moving from the city and then here. And then the clients, thankfully, thanks to social media because that has helped us a lot, most especially during the pandemic. We didn't have a job for more than 5 months, I think 8 months throughout to 2020. But IG helped a lot. It helped all of us at that time. And so clients were still coming from that aspect. And it's just really now that clients are starting to come back or to come and visit us and present really what they want for their restaurants like that.
Okay, thank you for that. And also, yeah, just having to move to a new place and trying to almost recreate your entire process from scratch. Like that's very challenging. And also something I learned from listening to other talks here at Design Week Philippines is sometimes when you're trying to work with other types of people and learning about their livelihoods, you really, really have to be patient about, you know, what their needs are, and maybe your needs and their needs aren't really the same. So you have to really like take your time learning more about them, and then how maybe you factor in. So for Sam, your design work is guided by empathy and human-centeredness. What inspired you to pursue this intention, and how does it impact your design thought process?
Okay, thank you for that. Very tough question. It's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. I guess it started when I was younger. Seeing how, I guess in school, certain kinds of people would do well in school while some won't, and I can't. So I belonged in the faction who can't do well in school. And so early on in my life, I realized that I guess normal systems and processes aren't for everyone, and that like I guess those aren't inclusive. And so and I remember one teacher told me that there are no lazy students, only unsupported ones. So that made me realize that hey, the things that we have right now, our schools, our systems, some products, they aren't designed with other people in mind, or people who don't fall under the quote-unquote normal category. I guess just to share, I have ADHD, so that's why I'm passionate about like inclusivity and accessibility because of this thing. And so when I first learned about how design is inclusive and is supposed to be inclusive, that made me fall in love with it because it takes into account people's contexts and it makes people seen. And so that's why I'm in this practice. And although I'm still pretty new to it, like I'm an infant here, my goal is to create a solution for for the not normal person, or create a solution that will benefit a community, their needs, given their context, their background, their situation. Because solutions aren't one size fits all. You have to ensure that they fit who you're serving. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Like, listening to you, actually, because I have a sister who also has, some form of ADHD also, and then growing up, she had similar, developmental, she had a hard time learning in school. So it's really nice to hear that there are people out there actively working to create new ways to teach people, and new strategies, new products to really provide an inclusive space for all kinds of people. So this talk is called, as we know, Designing with Joy. And having a career in a creative workspace is fun, but it can also be work. So I'm going to ask you all a few questions about maybe some of the struggles you might encounter while working in your respective fields. For Ad, you've had a long career in a very creative and very demanding, what some call a demanding industry. Can you tell us what is the biggest challenge you've ever, sorry if it's a bit monumental to ask you, what are the biggest challenges you faced in your career, and how did you overcome them?
Actually, challenges are always there. The moment, kasi as I keep on saying, advertising, kada new project and there's a new challenge. Kasi there's no pattern in your work eh. Once you're given the new job, ibang director, ibang staff, ibang production house. So, ang dami-daming, doon pa lang dami naman challenge. Ito bang director na to, makakasundo ko. Ito bang production na to, magbabayad on time. 'Di ba? Ang dami mong consideration. It's not just the creativity. Wala ka pa dun sa creativity. That iniisip mo na. Or, do I have enough right stuff para ma-mount ko yung project, 'di ba? So, even just accepting the project is already a challenge. Then, of course, there's a difference when you work with a foreign director. In my experience, Australians are the most racist. Diba? Ang lala nila. Pero paano, how do you make sure that, hindi sa akin yun. Yun ang experience ko. So you better make sure na you stand your ground also. Yun, you cannot be a pushover for that. Hindi yung, sure, then you don't call, kasi here we really call our directors direct, which is wrong. Globally, that's not even the way it is, right? Sorry. So yung mga simple challenges lang na yun, you have to survive that. So, basta ako lang, tingnan nyo to, when you do advertising, dapat you have both. You have the creativity and you have the logic or the mathematical side of it. You cannot survive kung creative ka lang. Kailangan andun yung logical side mo, yung practical side mo that will tell you, eto kaya ko to, eto within budget ako, eto within 3 days matatayo ko to. So things like that. So every day is gonna be a challenge. Madaming malaki dyan. Pero every project you have to think as a major challenge para hindi ka rin nabobore and you give 100% to the job.
Thank you. And, I guess the answer is the biggest challenge is that every day and every moment is a challenge and they're all overcomeable. They can all be overcome.
Nasa sayo na yan. How you do it.
Okay. Auggie, let's talk a bit about creative block. Have you ever had a period of creative block and how did you overcome it?
All the time. As in, every project.
Every day is a challenge.
Di ko alam kung merong artist na walang mental block. I mean, ako every time na may project, kunyari, gusto ko yung project, talaga mag-mental block muna ako kasi parang sobrang saya ko. Pero kailangan kong huwag munang pakitaan ng yung emotion. So parang magpo-procrastinate muna ako for a while. Parang bago ko simulan yung project. Nandyan siya, pero hindi ko siya hahawakan muna. Parang ganun. So hayaan ko lang muna siya mag-sink in sa akin na okay na yung feeling ko, okay na energy ko, gawin na natin to. Parang ganun. Hindi yung parang, kasi pag minsan, kapag may mental block ka or parang sobrang excited ka sa ginagawa mo, magsasuffer somehow yung outcome ng ginagawa mo. Kasi parang, hindi ka nakapag-isip, dire-diretso ka lang, sobrang excited mo. Kailangan mo munang step back and then, alam mo yun, parang gawin ko hindi ko ginagawa para mag-binge ako ng Netflix for 2 weeks tapos gawin ko na yung project ko. So, matutuwa ako, akala mo yung project mo, it would take for 2 months, in 3 days, tapos mo na. Kasi parang nakapag-relax na yung utak mo, yung state ng emotion mo or yung physical katawan mo nakapag-relax. And then balik ulit tayo. So, para every time may project ako, hindi ko muna sinisimulan. Step back muna ako. Pero alam kong at the back of my head, sineset up ko na yung proseso kung paano ko siya gagawin. Para pag sinalangan ko na siya, dire-diretso na. Parang ganon.
That's good. I can't help but think about for me personally, when I encounter creative block, it's because, I'm so excited about the original idea, but when it comes to the actual execution work, I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. Sometimes everyone has their own process trying to overcome that kind of thing. Sometimes you need to step back also. You need to do something else, find inspiration elsewhere, find drive elsewhere. Yes. So Mia, you are a creative and a business owner. To keep a business going, income stability becomes a necessity. Do you have any tips on how to maintain a steady income or how to open up new revenue streams to support product development?
Okay, this is it's a never-ending learning experience to know about money. Okay, first of all, I'll probably share what I've experienced, and it is knowing the basics of your cash flow. It's very important to know where the money goes and how much you have with you also. So it's doing an accounting of everything that you spend and acquire or have from clients. So ako, I'm very obsessed with accounting. From kung ano man yung gagastusin ko, from may binili ako sa tindahan, kunyari piso, all the way to travel plans, etc. So there will come a point in your career wherein you want to really save up and have, if you have extra funds, you will really put it to emergency fund, you know, those things. Travel fund if you want to travel. You don't spend everything that you earn because if you really compute, most of it go to your business. That's what I've experienced with mine. Like, Mia, people are saying, Mia, you should increase your price because, you know, ganito, ganyan. And I'm like, no, it's really like this. Okay, so even up to now, I'm learning so much with money, and it is very important because it is our livelihood. So with revenue streams, as a ceramics, in the ceramics industry, either you are a potter, a hobbyist, which will eventually turn into a business because people will like your work. They will notice what you make and create, and they would want to have it for themselves. They will spread it to friends and family. These people would also want to buy from you. So it will become a business eventually. But as a hobbyist, you start practicing your accounting skills. Nowadays, it's so easy to learn about it with YouTube. You know, like it's very easy. Like in a notebook or in your phone, you just know what your expenses are and separate your business account and your personal account. Never spend your business account. And I learned that the hard way. Like, syempre, sometimes you earn profit and then you try to spend for, let's say, clothes. Lalo na ngayon, online shopping is so easy. In just one click, may damit ka na, di ba? And then you realize, hang on, paano yung gas para sa pugon? You know, things like that. And these things really happen. But if you're really serious with what you do, you be serious with your finances because that will sustain you all throughout your career, all throughout your life, and all throughout the time when you're ready to pass on whatever legacy you want to leave behind.
Almost like after pottery becomes your job, your new hobby is accounting. It's like, oh, I have to take up something new. I have to go to YouTube, but you know, it's good to hear that you can develop a business skill set even just in the way that some people look at hobbies, like pottery and things like that. You can go on YouTube and you can figure out how to do things yourself. So it's more accessible than ever to like learn how to build your own business.
I think it's also very practical to know the basics of spending money and earning money and not just creating or having a skill in the industry that you're in. Because you're doing it to earn a living. So money plays a big role and we have to know how to spend it, how to save for it.
Okay, thank you. Sam, can you tell us about how your advocacy for inclusive and accessible design intersects with your job at Globe as a design operations lead?
Okay. I think the intersection is like one circle. So I guess just to give everyone a background, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with the design system. So we use a design system to help our designers focus on strategy as opposed to producing like user interfaces for products and channels. And it holds standards and guidelines so that our channels are connected and so that their bandwidth is more opened up to innovation and, you know, again, problem solving and actually more fun things. As opposed, because when you produce, it takes the joy out of design because most of your day or week is going to be put into detailing. But sorry, that's boring. But anyway, so in terms of inclusivity and accessibility, when you see problems like in your department or organization or in the product, for example, why a certain component is not used properly or why a certain feature is this way, it's the easiest thing to do is to blame the product owner or the designer because they are the ones who made the decision. But once you uncover the whys, like why did this happen? Why did they make this decision? You see that, perhaps they're unsupported, and perhaps it's because of timelines. They had to rush this, or perhaps there weren't any standards in place to help them with consistency, and so it's important to have that like design thinking and human centeredness in your practice, not just with your output, but with also how you deal with people or how you solve your problems in your department. Because once you start blaming people, you have no way to solve the problem itself. And again, that's the easiest thing to do. So yeah, it's one circle. Sorry, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's perfect. It's just funny that you're like, I'm gonna go like not mention all these like the boring quote unquote parts of like sometimes their work. But like, would you say that the joy from working on these things does come from like the human centered
For
aspect
sure.
of it?
So, I inherited our design system in the company, so I think I'm the third person to hold it. And if you are a user of it, you would be frustrated, and there are certain things that would actually impact your work in a negative way when using it. So when I took it on, I had that into consideration. So I started interviewing the end users, because we have two. It's like designing for designers. So we design with the user, the designers in mind, and we also design for our customers in mind. And so we're kind of solving problems for two main customers. So yeah, I think the joy comes from the problem solving and making the solution bespoke. Because if you copy a system from like a different place, it might not fit your context in your organization or with how your designers are used to working. So yeah.
That's what design is all about, them on problem solving. Also, I got personal joy from you calling it bespoke. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like fancy. It's just for me. Something for me. Okay, so as designers, we are driven by different impulses, creative, non-creative, need, anything. I want to ask our panelists a couple of things about what inspires or even just drives them just to make it to the end of the day. So actually, let's go to Auggie first. What inspires you as a creative to experiment with methods, shapes, and other forms of art?
Ako kasi mahilig ako sa mga anik-anik. Ng mga kung ano, pag nakita ko sa thrift shop o sa ukay-ukay. Ngayon nakita ko tong isang item na to, parang, uy, kaya ko tong gawin. So, bakit hindi ko siya gawin? Parang may nakita ko ceramic na something. Kaya ko tong gawin din, pero gagawa ko na something. So, parang again, mahilig ako mag-collect and mahilig ako mag-collect ng visual diary ko. So, kaya may nakita ko lang something, pipicture ko yan. Eventually, magagamit ko to. Eventually, parang may visual bank ako na parang hindi ko siya makikita sa internet, pero makikita ko siya sa surroundings ko. Kahit pumunta ako somewhere, nakita ko t-shirt ng tropa, ang ganda, pwede ko itong gawa ng something. May nakita akong item sa bahay na kaibigan ko, uy, okay to gawin ko nga to, parang kung ano man, picture ako. So parang from that, nag-evolve yung parang, yung pag-create ng something, hindi yung parang na-stuck na lang ako sa kung ano yung nakita ko, ano yung ginagawa ko usually. So parang, hindi constant lang yung pag-evolve and pag-create ng something kasi na-inspire ako sa paligid ko. So parang that keeps me driven and parang to experiment more sa iba-ibang item. And kuya, may ginawa akong example, parang tufted rug. So hindi naman ako marunong nun. Mag-outsource ako ng mga artist na marunong at eksperto na gumawa ng mga ganong craft na ang sarap mag-collaborate sa iba-ibang tao. So parang gano'n, parang mayroon akong drawing, gawin mo to sa style mo. Pero na-translate niya, so parang ang ganda kasi parang nagagawa niya ng version yung gusto ko, pero parang hindi yung diniktahan ko siya kasi alam kong artist din siya eh. So parang gawin mo to, so parang naging organic lang din at the end of the day yung pag-create ng something.
So to say bespoke as well.
Probably.
I'm just kidding. But you know, like part of coming up with ideas is just you're encouraged to go out and see what's out there so that you're not just like living in your own world of creativity. There's stuff that you don't know about that can inspire you. And then for Mia, the vastness of nature drives an infinite creative inspiration. Wow. In your involvement living in Zambales, how do you use its features in the creative process of pottery?
So I love walking around since, like I mentioned earlier, the beach is right behind where the pottery studio is located. Tapos may bukid sa harap where all different species of plants are there. So I walk, and then I'll share about the barnacle mug. So I was walking along the shore, and I found a driftwood lying there after a strong typhoon. And then I saw a cluster of barnacles attached on the driftwood. So ang tagal na walang work nung panahon na yon because typhoon season, the clay was drying too long. It's taking too long for us to start doing something else again. So I walk along the beach, take photos, spend time with what I saw, and I sat there for minutes looking at it, and I said, this is very interesting. I want to make something out of this. So I went back home, and then I started making something. But in my mind, I had that barnacle on the driftwood in my mind. And then I started making, maraming variety yung barnacle mugs na yun eh. But then it started with something that has more texture. So nature plays a big role in what we make. And we are thankful that we are just right there. It's right beside us. It's very accessible. And just like that, barnacle inspiration that has been applied to all the other collections that we've made. During the pandemic, we were just in the pottery studio. There was no work, but I invited the locals to come. And that's where they learned the skill of making pottery too. I miss teaching, I miss the workshops, and the pandemic led me to teaching the neighbors. And whenever I go out, I go snorkeling, I make sure binilang ko sila ng mga snorkeling gear. Sabi ko, tara, mag-isla tayo. And then, so sumama sila, and since they live near the beach too, so they know how to swim, I don't have to teach them how to swim. So we go snorkeling, and then we find something there. We find taclobos, we find a lot of corals over there, and then I also show them how it's like to design something out of what we see under the water. So whatever we see, I try to not replicate, but I try to make something out of, like, say, the taclobo. When I see the taclobo, how can this be used on a table or like in a restaurant? So that's always connected to, I don't know, that's how I think. That it's just there, it's connected. I can't get rid of it. So yeah, so it's very inspiring to live near the sea, near the islands. It's 5 minutes away from us to get to an island. So it's beautiful. It's challenging. The typhoon season is wild, but that's where inspiration comes from. It's in those very dark moments that you realize there's beauty in that, and you just really have to pay attention, be highly sensitive. It comes to you naturally. It does not. You don't exert any effort to feel what is around you. It's there. It needs your time to spend with it. Like what I did on that driftwood with the cluster of barnacles. I really spent time with it. Sometimes it's just not even analyzing. It's just there. You're one with these things.
As the kids like to say, we have to touch grass. We have to, but really, we live in our world. Why don't we take inspiration from it? Why don't we learn from the natural surroundings around us? Ad, how about you? Do you have anything that I don't know, inspires you, drives you? Where do you take ideas? Where do your ideas come from?
Okay, two things. And I always tell this to my students also. Parang as advertising, it's about lifestyle. It's not just about those visuals, but the little things that makes it more than what it should be, diba? Kasi we're selling gloss, sexify it, things like that. So, two things that I really go to kapag ka naubusan. Like, Google is your best friend, no? Kahit na kaya lang, si Google din, dahil pati client mo, ang galing mag-Google, you better make sure nasa 10 page bago ka magbigay ng reference. Gets? So, that's your most basic. But again, I rely on traveling. That gives me another insight. And when I say traveling, it's not just the landmark. I make sure that, kunwari, I'm not a Harry Styles fan. Pero because I wanna see the concert venue, I wanna know how it is set up, I wanna see the first Munich Olympic Stadium. Diba? So, 3 things na yung nagawa ko doon. The modern way to do music now and how these kids are dressed and even the way they move. And then, of course, Harry Styles. Diba? Pero, ni isang kanta, wala ko. I'm not into music, technically. So, wala yon. And then, yung kunwari, another thing na sobrang, eto, addict ako talaga. Social media talaga. As in, ang dami ko reference from TikTok, Instagram. Pag kumuha nga ako ng OFW na reference, I don't go to literal na Google na OFW. Sometimes my friends are hurt. Minsan, yung mga friends ko sa ibang bansa, yun yung ginagawa kong, yung social media nila yung ginagawa kong OFW. Just so, to have another take on the denim. Gets? I mean, OFW with more respect. Something like that. Pero, a lot of these things na social media, and you make it, you make it your friend. Nandiyan na siya eh. Hindi naman pwede na tingnan mo lang siya on a negative way. You use it as a tool also. So for me, I encourage that with my students. Kung sinasabi ko, ang babad na rin lang kayo dyan, you better make sure na nakikinabang kayo. So those things. Ang sorry talagang hindi ako artist, di ba? It's so practical.
No, but that's all right. That's a lot of the time artists really have to do practical things in order to do what they do. And social media has really widened our ability to see the world from different perspectives.
Exactly. Yes.
Yun. Sam, how about you? Anything that inspires you, drives you?
That's another difficult question. I guess it really depends on what I'm doing. If it's personal work, like for example, illustrating, usually from movies, I draw inspiration from like animated film, movies, and also the work of artists I look up to for sure. The work that I love usually are a mix of 2 things, like traditional and modern fashion, things like that. For my day-to-day work, what inspires me would be our goal for the projects we're doing right now is really to democratize design for non-designers, so that everyone can like craft and solve problems for our customers, because I think that's a competency that still needs to be built within the organization. And so what keeps me going would be, all right, in the future, this will be like a repository of like best practices, us learning from each other, success stories within the organization. But for now, it's a UI library for our designers that we just keep growing. And I guess that's where my inspiration comes from also whenever I work with other designers. It's a feedback loop, right? That's how we improve. I love collaborating with them. I love learning about why something isn't working and what's working. So we know, I guess, what to continue, what to not do. Sorry, no, medyo, like, boring. It's so, technical and, again, practical. But that's how I see things. Like, parang, I see things as, like, a system always. And I guess that's what helps me cope also, with my job, seeing things as a system, and how everything affects each other. So yeah, what just keeps me going is like always learning, having like a beginner mindset for sure, and yeah, I actually treat my work as like a free master's degree. So yeah.
And it's okay to talk about the systems that you follow, because in a way everyone's following a system, whether it just looks different for all kinds of people. And also drawing inspiration from like film and other kinds of media. Sometimes you have to open up to other forms of art that aren't necessarily yours. So if you're a visual artist, maybe you want to read a book, or you want to do like like why am I gonna say touch grass again? Touching grass is good too. But yeah, those are all they're all valid ways to explore ways of creating. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the future and about sustainability. So for Ad, in our growing film industry, what do you still hope to see in the next few years that could surprise the surprise the Filipino and global audience?
Actually, the film generally the advertising naman is there, always constant and doing its job. Ang mas frustration ko talaga, and that's why I want to go into that, would be the film industry. Yun talaga yung mas struggling now, and we know that, right? The film industry is struggling. Even sa streaming, we're not really putting materials na talagang would compete globally. Yun kasi na yung batayan eh. Where are we now on a global perspective? And you see it, that South Korea is dominating in Asia. Why? Because they're being given the money. And why are they being given the money? Because they have strong writers. I have to give it. Ako talaga, in our industry now, I would like to say we have good directors, designers. We don't have money and good writers. Yun yung pinaka-medyo weakness. That's why I also encourage my students, pag writer ka, please continue to write. Yan yung key eh. Madami tayong magandang, madaming skilled. I mean, our skills at par. Pero the writing is something that's really weak. And therefore, we're not being given the money that's being given to Korea. We're probably given 10% of what they have. And hindi ko talaga masisisi ang streaming, HBO and Netflix. Right now, I'm doing something big for Netflix under Eric Mati, and we're hoping to get that going. Pero ngayon, ang struggle pa rin namin, pera. Eric Mati na yun, ha. Eric Mati was being given green light both for HBO. We also finished something for HBO, but that's quite simple. Hoping natawid na namin yun. But this one that we're doing for Netflix is quite big talaga. Malaki siya for our standard, ha. Pero globally, wala yun. Karampot lang siya. Pero sana, baby steps, we get there. So, that's my hope. Talaga. Ako, frustration ko talaga yan. And I've been vocal to all the, my directors, both in advertising and in films. Ako, paano yun? Kaya naman natin, wala lang tayong magaling na writer. And I'm really, really willing to do my share to give that one step there. Kasi, sayang eh. Sayang, ang exciting ng streaming. Kita mo naman, di ba, ang daming lumalabas every day, literally, from all over the world. Pero tayo, kulang na kulang, hindi pa tayo masyado makakompete. So, I'm hoping talaga, in the next few years, we'll get there.
And also, the world of streaming is changing. It's there's so much content all the time.
Exactly. So, sayang naman kung we cannot be part of it. Kasi tinitingnan lagi tayo na, small time lang, low tech lang, ganun. Di talaga eh. We need to compete.
Ride the wave before maybe the bubble bursts. I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
Kasi tama, baka na rin, di ba, masagad. Tingnan natin where it's really going.
And then for Sam, let's talk about the future of sustainability. And sustainability served a positive purpose in how businesses operate, but it is also utilized as a marketing strategy to attract a certain demographic. How can you visually express the idea of sustainability without becoming overly commercial?
Another tough question. Why do you keep giving me?
Sorry, it's like really like.
I guess it depends. I think it's good if sustainability is used as a marketing tool for education, for sure. But if you use sustainability to sort of greenwash your products without actually looking into your processes, whether they're compliant or sustainable, I think that's where things become problematic. And again, I mean, we still need businesses for sure to fund sustainability projects, right? So it's not entirely a bad thing. But if you really want to be earnest and be honest about sustainability and visualize it, the one way to do it would be showing the reality, which is where will we be in 7 years, 5 years if we don't do this now? Our resources are getting depleted. And not a lot of people know that, right? We live in a state of bliss where we don't know right now. We're really enjoying a lot of luxuries that we might not be enjoying in the future if we don't do something about sustaining our resources and reducing waste and making sure that things are circular. And yeah, so I mean, going back to the first part of that question, it all boils back to, I guess, holding marketers or the companies of that marketers accountable for those processes, because at the end of the day, they're the ones manufacturing and they're the ones who need to ensure that what they give or what they sell is sustainable. And yeah, so to visualize it, just show the reality in like how many years our resources are continuously being depleted. Yeah, sorry, that was like very not joyful.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Sometimes discussing joy is also about discussing like the underside of joy, which is I'm not so joyful.
Why is that in this panel? Kidding.
Well, I don't know. Well, sustainability. What would you change, naman, about like the way people like express the idea of sustainability?
What would I change? I guess because right now it's sort of easy to just purchase things that are quote unquote green, and that sort of like eases your guilt that yeah, it's a green product. So I think I'm not impacting the planet, I guess. But it's tough. I feel like consumers shouldn't be. I feel like the responsibility shouldn't only be held by the consumers. Although we do, I feel like we do, as individuals, we should look into what we do every day, to that. What's that? Contributes to, our environmental impact. And I think what I'd change is that the efforts need to be, like the feeling that the efforts need to be big, because you can make changes incrementally. Small changes like amount to big things. So I guess that's it, like less pressure and just, having more sustainable and like incremental change within yourself, your community, and hopefully it trickles down to, everyone else. Yeah.
Thank you. And for Auggie and Mia, do you have any thoughts on like the future of your industry or sustainability playing a part in that?
In the ceramics industry, it's happy nowadays because more and more potters are making pottery. There's so many workshops now in Manila, and some I think will open in Cebu. It's very challenging to sustain, I'll be honest, the business that we are in. But then if you really persevere and have faith in what you do, you'll get somewhere. Now, the only challenging part also is finding local materials that will sustain a business, for example. May panahon na ang minahang bayan ay hindi available sa bansa natin. Nung sinarado yung mga minahan, and nandun yung clay. Maraming resources ang Pilipinas na hindi nagagamit, na kami mismo kumukuha pa sa ibang bansa ng mga materials na yon. So hopefully the government will help us in our industry so that we can also make use of what we have in our country. Zambales alone has the colorants that we can use in ceramics, in our tableware. And I had a personal experience wherein I went to Enros. It's like the DENR of Zambales. And there was a time that Gina Lopez was shutting down all the mining businesses. And it was a time when I wanted to discover maybe a quarry site or yung maliit lang na amount, kukuha lang sana ako ng sample, but then that also was not allowed. So hopefully the government would open up Minahang Bayan again in Zambales. I think I just really have to inquire and go back. And continue to teach people making pottery. But also for those, this is my challenge to those who are teaching now. Most of us have our provinces. Di ba normal yun sa ating mga Pilipino? May iba sa atin, taga Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. If you can go back to your roots and teach the people around you, really teach them, because it's fun to experience that even the poor people can really create something, you know, and it can also be their livelihood. They can also be successful doing it. But someone has to go to them to reach them. They have to see that, uy, meron palang ganito. You know, whether they're tambays or nakapag-aral pero tinamad na, siguro dahil for some of their personal reasons, you know. All they need really is someone who will believe in them, train them, and train them well. What you want to pass on is not only your knowledge, but you want them to be also better than you are. And we do not be intimidated of them, because they too they just want to live life and survive too. But, so try to teach not only the people in the city, so to the younger potters, there's plenty of you nowadays. I see you in Instagram, and nice works. But yeah, so let's also go out of our comfort zone and teach the skill, because it's a skill that really needs to be passed on from generation to generation, and resources are available. And we have to, since we love what we do, we also have to love the people who need our help. And sometimes finding help is not accessible to them unless we really find time and make ourselves available to them. You don't notice them in the beginning because they're just there. Pero when you stay a little bit longer and you start to need, because your career will take you to a point wherein you would really need help. I used to start on my own and umabot sa panahon na parang kulang na itong 2 kamay. Parang kailangan ko na ng tulong. So, unti-unti yon. So, from isa, naging 2, 3, 4. And then I teach them the skill not only of making pottery well, but teach them the skill of packing pots well. It is also a skill. So from admin work to packaging to firing the kiln. Ang nakakatawa. Nakakatawa kasi. Nakakatawa, marunong sila magluto ng pugon. You know, that itself is a skill. They record everything that we teach them, they get it too. So I think that's how it can be sustainable by just providing knowledge to people that are reachable, within our reach.
So that's so wonderful to hear. The whole process is something you're so passionate about. And also, potters of Instagram, you're not hiding from anyone. You better teach other people how to make pot, preserve the skill set, and you know, sharing the blessings. Yeah, Auggie, how about you? Do you have any?
So about sustainability,
Or the
about sa
future in
industry,
general also.
Siguro yung feeling ko lang about siguro sa design na lang in general sa public, sa government natin. I mean, yung mga signages nila, everything, kahit yung mga pagpumunta ka sa barangay hall, gets mo, parang anong design to? Bakit ganito? Parang hindi na translate yung message properly sa tao. Parang sana naman mag-hire kayo ng magaling na graphic designer sa mga government agency na parang at least ma-apply lang yun na maayos at ma-translate yung message. Parang ultimo signages sa mga public spaces. Di mo na maintindihan kung paano mo susundan. Yung parang gano'n, parang ang daming visual pollution na parang ang sakit na sa mata. Kung aware kayo doon, di ba? So parang, I guess sana kung mapasok kayo sa ganung industriya or sa barangay nyo or sa kusamang province, ayusin nyo lang siguro yung, visually lang, mapaganda at maybe that would help na rin to spread awareness properly. I mean, I don't know, something like that.
That's the effect of good design, being able to help. Like, those are things we deal with every day. Like, things we have to do as citizens of the country. Like, and so that's the purpose of good design. So to close our roundtable, I have one more question for all 4 of you. In the midst of all like the work and the toil and things like that, how do you manage to keep joy in the workplace. And it can mean, up to you what it really means to have joy in the workplace and in your work, or joy as a sort of personal feeling, professional, personal. Let's start with you.
Honestly, hindi ko naisip yun.
You want to start with somebody else? Not me.
Parang wala. Parang never, tsaka hindi ko priority kasi yun eh. Parang priority ko lang na, tapos na ba lahat yan? Parang ganun. So sorry, parang joy, right now, sige, I'm doing this film nga by Bust, and I encourage my staff. Say ko, if you don't do this nang masaya kayo, better get out because it's quite a difficult project. Say ko, sinasabi ko na sa inyo, I'm warning you, mahirap siya. I've never done an ocular 5 straight days. I've come from Zambales, Sagada, nakarating na lampasan ko na yung tattoo ni Apo Wang Od. Sabi ko, shit, nasa na tayo? Barlig, naakyat ko na yung bundok. I mean, at my age, hindi ko na ginagawa yun. I don't get paid na to do that. Really. Parang ako, magte-check lang ako, approve, bayad na ako doon. But now, I've done that. So, probably because, ito na yung hinahanap ko din. Baka that's the joy I'm looking at. Kasi weird yun eh. People know me in advertising. Pag pinaakit mo lang ako ng 2 floors, super talak na ako. Parang, asan to? Bakit walang elevator dito? At saka, wala naman nagsabi na 2 floors. Parang ganyan-ganyan. Pero with what I've done, and I'm doing, and I'm not, wala pa akong ni isang kusing, I'm preparing this project for 7 months, and isang kusing, wala pa ako nakukuha ang pera, and I'm doing it. It's probably out for joy. And I do encourage my people to think of it the same. Kasi hindi siya talaga about money. So, I guess, that makes me a better person now.
Well, sometimes joy is a mindset that you have to just keep, or like, I have to have this or else I'm not going to survive in this business. Auggie, what about you?
Siguro, ang hipokrito sabihin na palagi lang tayong masaya sa ginagawa natin. Siguro, pero parang, kung may kliyente kang bad trip, di mo naman sabihin masaya ka. Pero siguro for me, joy is, sa trabaho ko, sa ginagawa ko, is yung, meron akong kapalitan palagi ng ideas. Kung kliyente ko, corporate man yan, or tropa man yan na kliyente, basta may kapalitan ako, parang magandang energy lang yung nangyayari sa between us, masaya na ako doon. Kumbaga, natututo ako sa inyo, natututo din sila sa akin, kahit bata man yan or mas matanda sa akin, as a client or a friend, ang saya ng feeling na may natututunan ka palagi. Kahit not necessarily sa art man yan or something. Parang yung exchange palagi ng ideas, kwentuhan, yun yung masaya na ginagawa ko siguro sa kung ano man yung nasan ako ngayon.
Sometimes you need that little like you need a win talaga. You need to, and if you don't get it in the way that you think you're receiving a win, sometimes you have to look for it yourself, Mia, how about you?
In the pottery studio, so before we start to work, I really gather the team and I tell them of the tasks that we have to accomplish for the day. And one day is never the same to the next. Okay, it's always task after task after task. So with all the stresses that we're about to face during the day, from either having the same mistakes to correcting them, and sometimes you feel like things have been corrected and then later on, it's just normal that mistakes happen over and over again. So we normally start the day with prayer because life is tough, life is tough. Work can be tough depending on the deadlines that we have to meet. So we gather and then I share my faith to them, because it's not an easy industry to be in. And it's not only skill that I want to pass on to them, but also what I believe in my faith. And so that helps a lot, okay? So maintaining also our joy in our work is whenever we fire the kiln, so mag-overtime yung staff, we would have dinner together, usap kami, like, hey, kamusta ka na? Never nila ako kinamusta, pero ako, lagi ko sila kaya kamusta. Minsan nga nihintay ko parang, oops, kakamustahin niya kaya ako. pero hindi. So I asked them, kamusta ka? You'll be surprised by the stories of the people who work for us. Okay, so for me, that's maintaining joy, is knowing the condition of your workers. because that will reflect to your work. You know, one time, someone went through something and then he came to work, parang bad trip na siya for the whole day. So I'm like, being the boss or being mamiya to them, I don't want to get angry with them kasi. So I have to understand what they're going through. Maybe this task is too heavy for him, but I have to ask someone else to do it. You know, so you have to be aware of the condition of your workers. It's a high priority for me. So, and yeah, whenever I feel burnt out or I see them being burnt out, I invite them to go to the island. Nearby. Lapit lang eh. Lapit lang. So snorkeling kami doon, just like how I said earlier. And yeah, and I allow them to do, I have my own downtime. Minsan sama-sama kami, hanggang downtime magkakasama kami. They play skimboard, that's how I got to know them. Sama-sama kami sa beach, and it's a fun lifestyle that we have over there.
Gosh, I wish I could just solve the problem at hand by like, sige, let's go snorkeling over there. But yeah, having, especially when you're leading a team or you're working in a space and then you're leading everyone, sometimes you have to be able to have that sense of what people are going through, and not really like forcing joy upon them, but listening to people's needs, because that's what really, maybe not so much joy, but bringing things to the satisfaction of the people that are working with you, working for you, etc. Sam, how about you?
Well, I envy Mia. I wish I lived by
Come
the
to
beach.
Zambales.
Well, it's funny. I found joy after like a long period of burnout. So I sort of learned what not to do anymore. I learned to like have boundaries, strong boundaries in place, and not making my work my life. So it's really important to like have interests and activities like outside of work, things that will help you detach, and things that will help you remember that, okay, at the end of the day, your work is not you. It doesn't define your self-worth. So that when you show up to work, you're a bit lighter. Even if problems arise, you won't get mad, or like you can come into it level-headed and sort of calm enough to address the situation. So yeah, it's just funny that joy came out of a place of like non-joy. And it helped me understand myself and my needs and what I need to say no to. So yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes when there's tension in the room and you ask someone to take a walk, sometimes that's literally what happens. You have to, if you're feeling bad, if you feel really tense or stressed, you have to step away from what you're doing and do something completely different. You and watch Netflix for 2 weeks and then come back to the thing. Oh, I'm refreshed. I'm renewed. But yeah, those are the ways that you can approach joy, quote unquote, in your work. You can have the mindset of, I'm gonna be happy, or I'm gonna approach this open-minded, feeling good. Or sometimes working is just, you just feel bad and there's no way around it. It's not something we enjoy doing sometimes, and you have to do something else to come back to it. And with that, that's the end of our roundtable. Let's give a round of applause to our amazing speakers. And now it's time for our Q&A. Our team has been compiling your questions behind the scenes, or if are there any questions in the audience, maybe you'll get a question answered by a member of our panel. Yes. Oh, and by the way, this is the microphone. Halloween came early. It's like the microphone is dressed like a pumpkin. Yeah. Catch. There we go.
Just wanted to touch it. This is a question for everyone, I think, but it's more for Mia, and because I'm a prostitute in this industry too. I'm also in advertising. The question is, I guess it's more of people management question, because we're all artists, we're all designers, we're all the lovers of our craft, but you reach a certain point in your career where you need to manage people. So I guess my question is, how do you balance both? Or how do you impart, I guess, the love of craft, or imparting curiosity to to your team, to make sure that your team is always functioning well to deliver to your clients or to improve your business. So, yeah, I think this is a question for everyone in the panel.
First of all, you have to be really mindful of what is thrown at you. Like for example, your staff is going through something, so you listen to them. You don't disregard their emotions and their maybe failure to accomplish a task. So you speak to them, you really listen and pay attention to all the points that they elaborate to you, because they will elaborate if they notice and see that you are listening to them. Sometimes they also need a boss who cares for them. Nowadays, even after the pandemic, like we're all alive now, we should be thankful that we are alive. So that means we still have a purpose in this world, and one of our purposes is to share love. When all else fails, it's really just love in the end. So just be mindful of their issues and ask them from time to time. Like for example, after a week that he or she has shared something to you, you ask him or her, kamusta yung last week? Or how are you now? Sometimes a simple how are you would take them to laughing or all the way to tearing up or really ugly cries. And people go through things. People go through tough things. And it's okay to be soft sometimes. Like me too. It's not most of the time that I'm soft. Like there are times that I'm also pretty tough to them. But that's I'm teaching a skill. They have to get it, because eventually they will also pass it on. So whatever life throws at you, being the boss, just take notice and ask them how they are after quite some time. And just give words of encouragement, because managing people is one of the toughest things. Sanay tayo lang nung umpisa eh. Yung ugali ng isang tao na worker mo na nag-start with 1, tapos naging 2, 3, 4, mamaya 10 na kayo, 20, or whatever kung gaano kadami yon. Iba-ibang tao yon, iba-ibang background. My background is not the same as theirs. But along the way, I've learned how to empathize with them. Now I love them so much. I can't see my life without them now, because I treat them as family. It can be just work. Ganun kami, work. But in the end, I have to love them, because I'm starting to see that they love their work as well. And that's very important, because it means you have groomed them to be not like who you are, but to be better than you sana someday. Because what we know now is not for us to keep, but for us to share.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
Sige, meron akong, kasi managing people, mahirap yan. Lalo na in my industry, kasi you work with ang dami mong taong kausap eh. From the really well-educated to those people that's really more about skills. And then, I would like to think na I can discern how people will react or paano sila mag-isip. Yung worth it ba yung strength niya versus yung topak niya. Like for example, I have an artist, ang hirap kontakin. So I make sure, alam ko yung phone number ng asawa niya, ng girlfriend 1, girlfriend 2. No joke. To make sure that I can contact that artist and he is doing what I want him to do with the deadline. Yun, that's managing That's a skill. Kasi minsan sabihin na, paano mo natawagan? Sabi ko, naman ko kasawa niya. O di ginising siya, diba? Gets mo? So, things like that is also about managing. Diba? And then, I am a person who will hire you not based on CV. Instinct lang ako. Kakausapin lang kita. Tapos, even the way na kung paano natin set yung meeting, alam ko na yun eh. Kung, kakain lang ako, pwede mamaya, visit na ako doon, di ba? Kasi parang, talaga ba? Di ba? Yung mga ganun. So, ako judger ako. I have to admit. Like right now, I look at you guys and I'm already, parang, siguro siya makikinig talaga sa akin. Ito, tutulog na to eh. Bored na siya eh. Parang ganun. May ganun akong hobby. wherever I go. So that's how I manage people. Parang titingnan pa lang kita, okay, sige, game. Pag after one, hindi ko nagustuhan, wala na talaga yun. Pero, kasi you have to remember, I trust you with taste, I trust you with money. Like, at an instant, I'm giving you 100,000, you better make sure pagdating mo dito, nakatayo na yung buong bahay na yan. Something like that, di ba? So those are two things that you have to trust a person. So hindi lang ako nakatingin palagi sa, I don't really, ako talaga, and I've managed it this way, I've never looked at CV. I'm always instinctive when choosing my people. And fourth, I would like to think they're with me naman for more than 10 or 15 years. So probably work for me. Hindi ko sinasabing mag-work sa inyo. Kasi iba din, kasi masama, ako talaga, at the end of the day, mapagduda ako eh. Ando na yun eh. So, parang ma-overcome ko yun sa'yo. It has to be a really good trust. Diba? So, for me, that's how I manage. Diba? Walang science, pero yeah, that's how I manage people.
Thank you. Do we have... Yes, we have another question. Sige, pass the pumpkin.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. I think yung question is for everyone then. I think Filipinos are underpaid, most especially the artists. And based on our experience, kasi we're in advertising, we've worked with like mga Japanese artists, UK-based, Italian artists. And when you see the way they value themselves, it's really expensive. Like probably like a shape lang cost like 1 million pesos because there's like yung name na lang nila, parang nilalagay na lang nila, but the clients will buy it. But for us, when we say na parang it's a Filipino made, parang baba lang ng tingin. So parang my question is, how can we increase our brand and our value that these products actually that can compete with them, but also with good quality, and also here it's actually made in the Philippines.
Ako kung ako tatanungin doon, mas political na yung sagot ko doon. So ayoko nang pumunta doon. Honestly, nasa political. Kasi how can you value a person who votes this way? That's the perception for me. That's a global perception.
Anyone else want to answer that? No. What?
It's tough,
Yeah.
but I think, again, I think the answer is in your question, right? It's in how you brand yourself and how you perceive yourself. Because you will meet people who are, billing like 6-7 digits. And you can see, for example, your output is the same as that person, or you're as talented as that person. And so I think, again, going back to really saying no, but of course I'm saying that in a position of privilege, I guess. Not everyone can say no to projects all the time. But I guess it's really believing in your value and what you bring to the table, and going out there and networking. I think that helps for the most part, because I think at the end of the day, everyone just wants to help each other out. And so the more people you know, and the more I guess you help other people, they want to pay that back. And I've experienced that also, for sure. And yeah, I guess it's really how you perceive yourself and your network.
Yeah, tama yun. Pero parang very political pa rin eh. Parang kunwari, nasa stigma ng Pinoy na parang, babayaran kita mura lang kasi Pinoy ka. Parang gano'n. Pero kukunin natin itong client nito sa ibang bansa kasi Japanese artist siya or American siya. Bayaran natin sikat siya eh. Pero parang kung kaya naman itong artist na to, yung trabaho niya, pwede mo kunin ito at bayaran mo ng tama. Nasa atin yun, nasa tao na yun kung paano patataasin yung kapwa mo Pilipino eh. Diba? Parang minsan may mga artists na parang, hindi, kukunin ko itong project to kasi wala akong project eh. Kaya kong babaan yung presyo ko kasi wala na akong project eh. Yung may ganung ideology na parang ganun yung pamaraan nila, paano sila kumita. So parang, kung kayang taasan ng kapwa ng mga corporations, babayaran kita ng malaki kasi Pinoy ka and kaya mo naman gawin yung trabaho nito eh. Ba't ko babayaran yung iba, yung taga-ibang bansa, kung kaya naman ng kapwa natin Pinoy? So parang nasa atin eh kung paano mo iaangat yung sarili, yung bawat isa sa atin.
With ceramics, clients kasi come to you knowing they have in mind your worth. Most especially for those potters who are not in the mass production industry yet. So people are aware that they come to you knowing that this is the certain amount that they have to pay for. So people know your value by how you present yourself, how you show your work, etc. So I agree with what she said about putting on value. Because I myself is surprised to have clients who want nice pieces for fine dining restaurants. And I did not have that in mind that that's how it's going to be. But then that's how it is now. So yeah, just knowing that there's value in your work, and pricing is sometimes a challenge to us. But then knowing your value and now increasing it does not mean mahal ka na. You know, it just means that throughout the time that you're making pottery, you're adding value to yourself, to the industry, and eventually to the world.
Thank you. Hope that answered your question. Does anyone have any more questions? Or and okay, I guess that's the end of our Q&A. And with that, let's give a warm round of applause to our incredible speakers. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening to our talk on designing with joy. I hope you learned something about managing your joy, managing your work, trying to be happy in the workplace. But we value your feedback also. So whether this talk gave you joy or it gave you whatever is the opposite of joy, please take the time to let us know what you thought of this roundtable by scanning the QR code and completing the feedback form. On behalf of the Design Week team, I would like to thank our partners, the Department of Trade and Industry, our creative venue partner, our festival curator, our government partners, our official media partners, our partner events, our food and beverage partners, our design mentors, and our program partners. And this day has just gotten started. Enjoy our last day of Design Week Philippines with our lineup of talks, workshops, tours, and more. And to learn more about the festival and to get updates on all things Design Week Philippines, head over to the Design Center social media accounts. DTI Design Center of the Philippines and Design Week Philippines on Facebook, and DTI.DesignCenterPH on Instagram. And don't forget to tag us in your posts and stories with the hashtag Design Week PH 2023 and hashtag On The Edge. Again, this has been Gabbi Campomanes, and this has been Designing with Joy. Thank you.